Congressman Byron Donalds. And Congressman, before we dig into all the news scandals and scuttlebutt, let me congratulate you on being named Speaker's designee on the influential steering committee. Also, of course, your selection for the Financial Services Committee. So it looks like the Dems are going for a public relations win with this debt ceiling. You just heard the press secretary saying it was raised 3 times under President Trump. Heck, it was raised 78 times since 1960. Isn't it a debt ceiling for a reason?
Absolutely. Listen, I fully anticipate that we're going to go ahead and get this done. But let's be clear. There are going to have to be negotiations around the debt ceiling. In our conference right now, whether you're on the more moderate side or the more conservative side of our caucus, every Republican member understands that spending reforms are needed. We have been recklessly spending the people's money, especially through the COVID-19 era, and we're going to have to get back to basics. We're going to have to figure out what needs to be trimmed so that the United States doesn't hit this debt ceiling debacle, it seems like, every other year. Okay. So there are going to be negotiations, regardless of what the press secretary might think.
And just the last time it was raised, not long ago, I mean, we're at $31 trillion. I want to switch gears, though. President Biden mired in this classified document scandal, which is also adding some credence to some long-held worries and talk of influence peddling by his son Hunter and maybe even the president himself. Now, initially, the media tried to circle the wagons, but it seems even incredulous right now that it just has mounted to a point where you can no longer truly defend this per se. But my question to you, will the American public, do you really believe the American public will ever get to the truth on this?
To be honest, I don't think so. And I think it's going to require investigations in Congress in order to get there. And then the second piece is, how do news networks cover this? How do the print media covers this? Right now, like you've already said, they're circling the wagons around Joe Biden when literally 4 months ago, they had the knives out for Donald Trump. That's one of the reasons why the American people don't really trust media anymore, because it's more about scoring points than actually presenting the facts and being impartial. But there's one critical issue with the Joe Biden classified documents leaks issues has been that some of these documents were from when he left the White House as vice president of the United States. And a vice president has no ability to have classified information. Neither does the Secretary of State or any other person in America. What separates Donald Trump, Barack Obama, George W. Bush is that they are former presidents of the United States. The president has the ability to classify and declassify information. They're the head of the executive branch. That's what makes this different. What Joe Biden did is he left as vice president, had those documents. There are serious questions about that.
And they're scattered all over the place. He hasn't bumped into any of them in 6 years. I mean, it's really tough. Let me ask you about a report I just saw. It says that 1 out of 3 members in Congress have received cash from Sam Bankman-Fried or his company FTX. I'm talking about 196 of your colleagues. Is the message that Congress is for sale to the highest bidder, no matter who that bidder is?
Well, look, campaign contributions has been a thing that's plagued Congress for a long time, especially with this Sam Bankman-Fried nonsense. What we've found so far is that most of those contributions have gone to Democrats, some to Republicans, but not nearly as much as has gone to Democrats. But there's a bigger issue here. What was he trying to lobby for? And the fraud that he was a part of, were their members trying to cover that up? That's the real thing that matters. I think as an aside, listen, campaign contributions are going to continue regardless. But like I've always told my constituency, it's not about the checks you receive. It's about whether you're going to do the right thing or not. Yeah. And so sometimes you're going to get donations, but you got to tell whether it's a corporation, a lobbyist interest, or even large donors, no, that is the wrong thing for the country. I don't agree. I'm not going to vote for that. I'm not going to pursue that. We're going to do what's right. And as long as the members of Congress go down that line, campaign contributions are going to be a thing. I think Sam Bankman-Fried is going to be held accountable, and he absolutely should be.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It just bothers me that he was actually steering legislation that would have been favorable to him and his company simply because he wrote a whole bunch of big checks. That scares the hell out of a whole lot of people. I got to tell you, you're a rising superstar, my man. I want to say congratulations, Congressman Donalds. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, listen, thank you. Anytime.